And the Quran speaks positively about Rome. And the Prophet ﷺ said that you will make an alliance with Rome in akhirul zaman. So what the Ottoman Empire did was to serve the cause of those who wanted to ensure that that alliance never takes place with Rome. And so they attacked these people. They enslaved them. They took their sons and converted them to Islam and trained them to become soldiers to serve the Ottoman Empire. Shamelessly! Shamelessly! It is a shameful blot on the history of Islam what they did. To take these little Christian boys, convert them to Islam. Don't come with the nonsense to me that the parents agreed to it and the parents were happy. What nonsense you're telling me? Because of what the Ottomans did, enslaving the women, putting them in the harem, slaves. Today there is so much hatred for Islam. So much hatred for Islam in Eastern Europe, in Russia, in Bulgaria, in Romania, in Greece, because of 600 years of Ottoman oppression. And so the alliance with Rome is almost an impossibility today, thanks to the Ottoman Empire. So the Ottoman Empire played a significant role in Akhirul Zaman. Number one, in setting the stage for the destruction of Khilafah. And number two, to prevent an alliance with Rome, which today is Russia. And then came the Arab Spring. I'm not talking about this Arab Spring. I'm talking about that Arab Spring, 100 years ago. And that Arab Spring resulted in the breakup of the Ottoman Empire. And that breakup of the Ottoman Empire took place by moving pieces on the chessboard. And Britain played the most important role in the breakup of the Ottoman Empire. The most important role of all is Britain. And then came France to support Britain. The body of Iran was discovered in 1897, and in 1907 we see the first move. Or 1897 the Zionist movement was established. But in 1907 came the treaty, the alliance between Britain and France and Russia. So go home and do your history. Why would Britain and France make an alliance with the traditional enemy, Russia? It was to set the stage, for the destruction of the Ottoman Empire. And then, having made the alliance with Russia, a few years later, I believe, because it was secret, they then made a deal with Russia. The war is coming, we know that. The Ottoman Empire is going to collapse, everybody in Europe knows that. And they now want to settle who will get what. Who is going to get what. And Britain and France offered to Russia, we'll give you Konstantinopolj. That was the sweets to make the deal work. And Russia was so pleased because that's what Russia wants more than everything else. Because Russia is still so much Christian. And when the war eventually was won, and the Russian troops are moving towards Constantinople, they're close to it, and now Russia is going to get the prize that Russia always wanted, Constantinople. Then the Zionists acted. Because they don't want Russia to get Constantinople. So then you had the Bolshevik Revolution, which was a Jewish revolution. And because of the Bolshevik Revolution, Russia came out of the war. And so the agreement was published about Constantinople. And Russia said, we don't want Constantinople because we're not in the war anymore. And the Bolshevik revolution eventually took a Christian Russia and transformed it into an atheist Soviet Union. Communism came to destroy Rome. Communism came to destroy Rome, to destroy Christianity. Because of the first Arab Spring, the Ottomans lost Mecca and Medina. The Arabs were already longing for an Arab Khilafah. If you would study Sheikh Muhammad Abdu in Egypt, you would see how this Arab Egyptian intellectual, and he was an intellectual, was leading an intellectual movement calling for a return of the Khilafah to the Arab world. So there was for 20, 30, 50 years this ferment in the Arab world of trying to revive the Arab Khilafah because the Ottomans could not be accepted as a proper Khilafah. But once the Ottoman Khilafah was abolished on the 3rd of March 1924, and then an Arab proclaimed the Khilafah in Mecca. His name was Sharif Husein bin Ali, 4 days later. And I wanted to know, how did he get the news so quickly? March 4th or March 3rd, it was abolished in Constantinople. March 7th, he proclaimed his Khilafah. So how did the news reach so quickly? And then I learned, in those days you had something called telegraph. So it came by, the news comes by telegraph. When he proclaimed the Khilafah, Britain would not allow that. France would not allow that. The Zionists would not allow that. No, they have worked and worked and worked for so long to destroy Islam's Khilafah. So then they turned to Abdulaziz ibn Saud to perpetrate the greatest betrayal of all. And there are many in Saudi Arabia now who agree with me, and they write to me. Many in Saudi Arabia who agree with me that this regime, the Saudi Wahhabi regime, played the most crucial role at the end of the drama in destroying Khilafah. They attacked Husein. Husein had to flee. They conquered Mecca, conquered Medina, conquered the Hijaz. Now we control the Haramain and the Hajj. No one can claim the Khilafah unless you control the Hajj. We will never claim the Khilafah ourselves. These people who are disgracefully betraying Islam, and we will not allow anyone else to claim the Khilafah. And so that is the end of Khilafah. And Constantinople has played a strategic role in the destruction of the Khilafah. The Ottoman Empire performed the third function that I forgot about. Not only did they conquer the Hijaz and take the Khilafah to Constantinople to set the stage for the destruction of the Khilafah, not only did they wage endless wars of aggression, bloody aggression and oppression of the people of Eastern Europe, particularly Russia, Rome, of whom the Quran speaks positively, Rome, and with whom we'll have to make an alliance in Akhiru Zaman. But in addition to that, the Ottoman Empire waged war after war against the Shia in Iran to try to foment as much as is possible Shia-Sunni strife. Shia-Sunni strife and hatred for each other. And when the first Arab Spring took place, then one client was replaced with another. These two clients were actually sisters of each other. And these two clients continued to perform the same role. When this one ended, this one continued it, namely the Saudi state. The Saudi state, the Saudi Wahhabi state, continued to perform the same function that the Ottomans were performing. The Ottomans were in friendly terms with Britain and France. When in one of the wars with Russia, I think in the late 19th century, must be around 1870-something, 80-something, the Russian troops were close to Constantinople in a war. Guess who saved the Ottoman Empire? Britain sent her fleet to Constantinople. And when the Russian army saw the British fleet, they could not move. So then they had to make a treaty with Turkey. I think it's probably called the Treaty of San Stefano. I may be wrong. But they had to come to a truce, a peace treaty. Because Britain saved the day for the Ottoman Empire. Otherwise Constantinople would have been gone and the Khilafah would have been gone with it. So in the same way that the Ottomans maintained friendly relations with Western Europe and were constantly hostile to Russia and Eastern Europe, so too Saudi Arabia. In the Zionist camp from day one, Abdulaziz ibn Saud met with the President of the United States of America on board a ship in the Suez Canal. 1945 perhaps, and entered into such friendly relations with them. And just 3 years later, Israel was born. And who is the first state in the world to recognize Israel? Oh yes, the same United States of America. So Saudi Arabia ended up with mess on its face. These are your friends. The Quran has prohibited you from maintaining friendly ties with a Judeo-Christian alliance. It's there in Surah Al-Ma'idah. And it's time for the ulama in Saudi Arabia, many of whom I understand are listening to our lectures, to recognize that this is the interpretation of the verse and come out and speak against this alliance with the Western world and this hostility for Russia. Now we turn to the second Arab Spring. History is repeating itself. And the second Arab Spring is continuing what the first Arab Spring did, to bring about changes in the Arab world, to bring new governments to the Arab world who would serve the ultimate mission of the Zionists. They want Israel to take over from the United States as the ruling state in the world. And then the Dajjal will enter into a day which is like a week. And this is what we are seeing before our eyes now. This is where we are in the historical process. You can't deny it, that the United States of America is in irreversible decline. You cannot deny it. The United States can no longer function as a ruling state of the world. When the US dollar is in a place in the hospital called the ICU, intensive care unit, it's about to die. They don't need the USD anymore. They use it sufficiently. And they use the USD unjustly to rip off mankind and to impoverish mankind so you can become filthy rich. They use the USD to oppress mankind. And I don't mind if people criticize me. But when a man has said the right thing, I am going to recognize that he said the right thing. It doesn't matter to me who is an I. And